her house burns down. That's the kind of thing that I like. Oh my god, that makes me sound like such a bitch. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I love to talk about books. Today I'm going to talk to you about my May TBR, which I don't really know what it's going to be. I am so behind in my reading. I've hardly read anything in April. I can't even explain it. I have been really busy with work, and then I was off for the kids' Easter holidays as well, so that's all kind of contributed to it. So yeah, I'm really behind. As this video goes live, today is Dewey's 24-hour readathon, so I am hoping to get 3, maybe more books done, caught up on in the readathon. But as for my May TBR, with how things are going with my reading at the moment, I guess this TBR is based on hope. So I have books to catch up on, the first of which is a NetGalley called The Metal Heart by Caroline Lee. This one is, and I'm not going to go into much detail about these ones that I'm catching up on because you will find them in my March and April TBRs, so I will link them below if you're interested in any of these books. But The Metal Heart is set on an island in Scotland, and it's during the Second World War when there were prisoners of war held on that island, and it's about the conflicts between two sisters, because one happens to, I think she falls in love with one of the prisoners of war, and how that kind of plays out in their relationship and in the community as well. Then the next book I need to catch up on is for the Read Under the Bed book club, which is hosted by Scott and Nell over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I haven't even started this yet. This is Terra, Nullius by Claire G. Coleman. And this is kind of about the history, well, it is about the history of Australia, but it's a little bit ambiguous in the premise, so I don't know if it's an alternative history or if it's just the history that the white oppressors don't want us to know. I am really interested in this book. I can't wait to get to it. Then I also have Skint Estate by Carraway. This is a memoir of living on the poverty line. Cash was a single mother living in temporary accommodation, and I think that's a really important subject to write about. People in that class or in that position don't usually get a voice, and I have heard good things about this, so I'm annoyed at myself for being behind in these books. And then I have Mohsin Hamid's The Reluctant Fundamentalist. This is about a conversation in a cafe in Lahore between I think it's an American man and a Pakistani man, and it looks at the impact of 9/11 on one immigrant man's experience of living in America. And then finally, for my catch-up ones, I have Snow in May by Kseniya Melnik. This is the Shelterbox book club pick for April, and it is short stories which are all linked by their setting in Magadan, which is on kind of the very periphery of Russia. It's where Stalin had his labor camps, and this sounds fascinating. So that's my catch-ups. I had 10, maybe 11 books on my original plan for May, but clearly that ain't happening. So I've decided to prioritize my NetGalleys just so I don't end up behind on them like I have only just managed to not be. And so the first of these is Earthed by Rebecca Schiller. I have been interested in reading this book anyway, and then when I saw it come up on NetGalley, I was really excited. So this is Schiller's memoir of realizing her lifelong dream of moving her family, I think it's a family, out to a small holding in the countryside. But it turns out it's really hard work, and as January comes around, she is also really teetering on the brink of a mental breakdown, and so she turns to the garden on her plot and the women of her plot's past as well. And in this, she finds healing and she discovers their histories. And I don't know why, but something about that just sounds really soothing to me. Yes, she's experiencing mental health difficulties, but I really like reading about nature and how people use nature to help them through mental health crises. And I'm also really intrigued about the history of the women as well. So I'm so happy I've got my hands on a copy of that. And then next I've got The Beauty of Impossible Things by Rachel Donohue. And I think this one is maybe got some magical realism in it, which I really enjoy. It's about a 15-year-old girl called Natasha, and she has dreams, like premonitions of the future. And when strange lights appear above their town and a local teenager goes missing, she has to reveal these gifts to the town in order to try and figure out what's going on. But unfortunately, her actions lead to some tragic circumstances that will overshadow the rest of her life. So that just sounds like it's going to be fun and maybe a bit dark, and it's set in England, and I don't know if I've read any magical realism that's set in Britain. So that will be fun. And then I've got an anthology which is called Fat and Queer, an anthology of queer and transgender bodies and lives. So I actually started this back in like January because I had thought I would just, read a story a week or something like that. Didn't happen. But even from the introduction, I got a really good sense of this book. I think it's going to be banging. It's just really interesting. As a fat woman, I'm always interested in people's experiences, but then I'm also interested in the experiences of queer and trans people, and this is bringing them both together, and it's in a way that is unique to their experience. Their experience is different from those of fat straight people or body normal queer and transgender people, and I think it's really cool that they've put this collection together to highlight that, spotlight it, and I'm really looking forward to actually getting my teeth into it. Then I have a bit of a wild card. I've got Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, she wrote Daisy Jones and the Sixth, and she wrote one of the two books that has seven. Was she the seven husbands of Evelyn Hugo? Or was she the 7.5 deaths of Evelyn or someone Hardcastle? I think she was the husbands. Regardless, I haven't read either of them, but I haven't been able to escape the, I don't know if it's hype or love that people have been sharing for this author. So I thought, I'll give her a go. So this is set in the 80s, and it seems to be set over one night, and it's about a party that's been thrown by this quite famous family, which everyone's really excited about, and it's going to be this big event, and it is a big event, but it turns into chaos and ends up with their mansion burning down. So already I'm seeing an issue with this, in that I don't really like reading about rich people problems, and that sounds like what this is. But their house burns down, and that's the kind of thing that I like. Oh my god, that makes me sound like such a bitch. I don't mean it like that, but it's nice when wealthy people get brought down a peg or two. No, I can't say this any good. I've dug myself a hole. I can't get out of it. Let's just move on. But it does have that element of family secrets, which I adore. I love me a fucked up family, and it could just be a nice, easy, amusing read. So there's that. And then finally, I've got The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. Now, I know that Nell, second shout out to you guys in this video, I'm such a fangirl. I know that Nell over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot really enjoys some of Natasha Pulley's books, so I've got high hopes for this one. And this is an alternative history where London is in French rule, English has been outlawed, and Scotland is run by rebels, which may or may not actually be alternative. And it's about an amnesiac called Joe who is trying to find out who he is. And the only clue he has is a mysterious postcard that was written a century ago by someone who signs themselves as M. So he needs to find this writer and try and figure out who he is. So that sounds really interesting, and I've never tried this author either, so that will be fun. So that's what's on my TBR for May, but the rate I'm going, it'll probably be my TBR for June as well. I don't know why I'm sucking so much at reading at the moment, but Dewey's kicks off at 1 p.m. today. I'm hoping that will give me the kick up the arse that I desperately need to remember why I love reading so much. So look out on Wednesday, where I will be sharing a little vlog of my readathon. It probably will be a little vlog of my readathon because I'm kind of thinking I would like to focus on the reading this time around. Vlogging takes out a bit of time, so does all the social things like tweeting and all that, and I think I might just actually step away from all of that and just try and read solidly for as much of the 24 hours as I can. If you're doing the readathon today, then best of luck. I hope you have an amazing time. Let me know so we can cheer each other on. And if you're not doing the readathon, I hope you get the chance to at least chill out with a good book anyway. And so until next time, bye.